Okay, so let me start off by saying that I don't condone anything that happened yesterday with the Capitol building and all those so-called Trump supporters and what they did. I think they need to be punished. I think they need to go to, jail, prosecuted, etc. There's absolutely no place for that sort of anarchy in this country. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let me go on to what I saw yesterday, because yesterday was the return of the cockroaches. The cockroaches came back out, from the hole that they were inside of hiding, as they usually do. Not surprising what happened. Now all of a sudden, these people that didn't have a problem with what happened in the summer with Black Lives Matter, and not necessarily the protesters, because peaceful protesting, there's no problem with that. Everyone has the right to do that, no doubt. But we're talking about the people that were rioting and looting, vandalizing, setting buildings on fire, attacking people, all this shit that went on all across the entire country, not just in one city, all across the country, right? These same people that never said a word about it. Now, the reason why they never said a word about it, it's two reasons. There's two reasons are. One, they're cowards and they're scared that they're gonna call them racist if they criticize what happened, right? So they're cowards and they're scared and they're like, well, people are gonna think I'm a racist if I say something, so let me just not say anything. Two is because it's on their side, so they won't say anything about it, right? But these same people had a big problem and were up in arms yesterday talking about, oh, look at all these Trump supporters, this is anarchy and this is an insurrection and this is terrorism. And how could you condone this? And blah, 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 blah. Nobody's condoning it, okay? So all these hypocrites, all of a sudden, they have a problem with protesting. All of a sudden, right? They got a problem with what happened, right? With so-called violence, right? Which, what happened yesterday, it's unacceptable. Don't get me wrong. I'm not condoning it. But it's just hypocritical of these people. Now they have a big, big problem. They're all upset. And they're saying, well, this is the best part of it, right? Is this bullshit of them saying, oh, well, if these were black people, the cops would have shot them. Now, how is that the case when we saw what happened for all those weeks and months all across the country? I mean, people literally burned down a police precinct. People were literally attacking and beating the cops. They were burning down establishments, businesses, okay, in their own neighborhoods, and the cops didn't shoot them. So how can you say, oh, if they were black, there would have been. So then what they do is they change the argument. They say, well, if it would have happened in D.C., they would block. It's so lazy. It's almost like arguing with little children. With little children are like, well, if he did it, then, how come he got away with it? It's very, very childlike thinking, but again, these are people that deal with pure emotion and no logic, so for them to say that, well, if this was Black Lives Matter, then they would have been shot by the police, would have killed them. No, they wouldn't have. And we can play the what if game all day, because what if let's say, what if Trump would have won the election, right? Like, what if he would have won? Do you think there would have been riots and the country would have burned? I think so. I can't prove that, obviously, but we can play that what if game. You think it would have been a peaceful transition into the second term? You think that everyone would have been okay? Probably not. So again, these people are hypocrites and they're very two-dimensional thinkers. They think like little children and they say, oh, well, it's all these evil Trump supporters. Now, here's the funny thing about it, right? It was about 300 people that did that, right? I'm not talking about the protests. I'm talking about the so-called violence, whatever you want to call it, breaking into that building and everything. It's about 300 people, right? So, you mean 300 people represent all Trump supporters? That's funny, because isn't that the same thing that saying that everybody that supports Black Lives Matter is a criminal and burn down buildings? Isn't that like saying every so-called minority is a criminal? Right? Isn't that you're accused, the things that you accuse people of, you yourself are doing. So it's hypocritical. It's very hypocritical, And I don't know what people expected. When you had that whole thing burning down these buildings and everything that went on, all the rioting and the looting, the vandalizing, you had to expect this type of response. on some level, you had to expect, because it was already legitimized and it was fine. You know, the mainstream media didn't have a problem with it. CNN didn't have a problem with it. Chris Cuomo came out and said himself, oh, since when is protesting supposed to be peaceful and nonviolent? He said this himself, right? So what do you expect? What do you expect? You know, it's just hypocritical. I just see hypocrites all around everywhere. You know, they're blaming President Trump. This is his fault. And okay, yeah, it's Trump's fault. You know, and do I regret voting for Trump? Nope. Would I vote for him again? Yup. If he goes again in 2024, am I voting for him? Yup. I will vote for him again. You know, that's not going to change my mind. You know, I don't think that's representative of so-called conservatives or people that think like me. You know what happened, you know? It wasn't like they were burning down buildings. If you noticed, did they set buildings on fire? Did they flip cars over? Did they do any of that? Did they vandalize establishment? No. It's like my friend Eileen said. I mean, at least they went to the source of the problem, right? At least these people had the balls to fucking take it up with the people they actually had a problem with the people they had a gripe with, right? They went to fucking DC. They didn't fucking destroy their own community. They didn't burn their own community down, right? Not to say what they did was right. But the point is, at least they had the balls to actually go there, right? Unlike the other cowards, right? Who all they wanted to do was destroy things, you know? Which, what did it accomplish? Nothing. Just like yesterday, what did that accomplish? That didn't accomplish anything. You know, it just basically made people look bad, if anything, you know? So, you know, that's the thing with people. You know, they're hypocrites. A lot of these people are cowards. They're afraid to say, you know, what's not politically correct. You know, they feel it's okay. You know, they'll talk shit about Trump or Trump supporters because social media says it's okay, because the mainstream media says it's okay. But they would never have the balls to do that if the mainstream media and social media didn't say it was okay. That's the bottom line. And it's funny, I see people posting these memes talking about, oh, you see, if it was Black Lives Matter, they would have used tear gas. They would have called the National Guard. And I'm laughing because I'm like, you people are so fucking lazy that you can't actually look up. They did use tear gas. They did call the National Guard. And you think that the National Guard can get there in 2 seconds. You know, the whole thing with the Black Lives Matter thing that went on is this was going on for days, for weeks. They were fucking burning things down and going bananas, going ape shit. Like, this was going on for a while, and it took a while for people to fucking get there, for reinforcements to get there. It wasn't an overnight thing, and they were prepared in other cities for when it was coming after the fact. You know, it wasn't this situation. People are so stupid. I can't believe how dumb fucking people are. And I know, listen, freedom of speech, you say what you want, but I mean, at least do a little research. Like, we have all the access to all the information. Why be lazy? And why just repost memes? Why not just look up, hey, let me see what happened? You know? Yeah, and getting back to DC and the police situation, when you looked at when that whole thing happened with Black Lives Matter a few months ago, when it first happened, Minneapolis was set on fire. So the police in DC were prepared beforehand. And I remember people forget this, they were actually trying to push their way into the White House. And you had all the Secret Service outside and police pushing them back. They had shields and they were pushing them back. They didn't shoot them. They pushed them back, right? Now, what happened yesterday? Well, it's pretty interesting what happened with the police over there in the Capitol building, because should they have been prepared? Yeah, they should have been prepared. But you can make the argument that, oh, well, an incident hadn't happened like this in terms of the MAGA supporters or whatever you want to call them, right? So you can make that argument. But the funny thing is, I hear people talking about, they're blaming Trump. Oh, it's Trump. Trump wanted it to happen. I got a little inside information for you people, all you Neanderthals, all you simple-minded individuals. President Trump is not in charge of the police, okay? He is not in charge of staffing the police or any of that stuff, right? So would you be surprised, and again, this requires a certain amount of thinking, right? CNN is not going to tell you this. Would you be surprised if the people that were in charge of it were just incompetent? Or if they actually wanted it to happen because they wanted to make the Republicans look bad on the way out? Could that be a possibility? Oh, it's a conspiracy theorist. Well, it's actually requiring a little bit of thinking, right? I know this is hard for a lot of people to actually think. They have to be spoon-fed the information, or they have to read it on a meme. They can't think for themselves, right? And here's another thing. I don't know about you guys. I'm sure there's a lot of people that feel the same way. They just don't want to say anything because they don't want to upset people. And I understand that. I, for one, am sick and tired of hearing about race. Not everything is fucking about race. Not everything is race. All I hear is every time something happens, race, 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 race. Oh, race, race. I'm tired of fucking hearing about it. It's played out already. When you claim race with every little thing that happens, when real racism does happen, people don't want to hear it, or they don't even believe it, because you use race for everything. I'm sick and tired of hearing people of color, person of color. It's fucking obnoxious. It's fucking annoying. I don't know why people keep using it. They think by inserting that in, person of color, or inserting race, they automatically win the argument, right? That's not how it works in the real world. I got news for you. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Everyone, have a blessed day.